interview, they were saying time and time again that they are just so worried about Lock Shaman, and this is one of the strongest Lock Shamans in the tournament. Splyce, Absterge, Walter Bear, Jellybeans, and Dota are looking super strong. But please sponsor us, man. Their God comp play against Cloud9 was also incredibly impressive, so this is definitely going to be a heavyweight match.
Yeah, they say Lock Shaman is hard, but I definitely think that with their Holy Paladin God comp, they can take FLS down. Holy Paladin God comp needs to be making a lot of swaps over on the rest of Shaman, trying to exploit Absterge's weaknesses, as he can only break out of usually one of those setups guaranteed to get a link off. If they can swap to him when he has no trinket, it's very easy to take Absterge down, I think, is that Holy Paladin God comp. So, and Merkmines is playing really well today, so is Sam and Rub Cup. So I think if they're on their A game, they might be able to take Splyce out.
Yeah, it's definitely possible. And, you know, we saw that RMD versus God Comp is supposed to be like a close matchup, and it didn't really look all that close. So, going up against this team, Splyce, I definitely have confidence that Please Sponsor is at least going to give them a fight at the very least. We're going to be jumping into that series here as the admin, the one and only Clutter, is getting the compositions from these two teams and queuing us up, and there we have it. Grand Arena has popped. We're going to jump right into the first game of this series, and it looks like Please Sponsor Us is going to be running that Holy Pally God Comp, and Splyce will be running the FLS.
Yeah, I think this makes a whole lot of sense coming into this match. For Splyce to go with that FLS versus this God Comp. You just get so much, you can outrot the God Comp so well with the FLS, and just make sure that they're constantly feeling like there's so much extra pressure going against them. So, and what we've seen out of Splyce so far, like you guys were saying, is just so impressive, that I kind of feel like Please Sponsor This. They definitely have their work cut out for them in this matchup.
I mean, I don't know. I think if they've got enough practicing against Feral Lock Shaman, that they can definitely take this. They have a lot of bursts. Obviously, what you want to really pay attention to is Merkmines when he has his silence available. Whenever silence is up, that means Please Sponsor Us can go for a kill. They're going to chain Horrify into a stun, into a silence, and just kill Absterge 100-0, or even kill one of the DPS 100-0. Let's see how Please Sponsor Us decide to play this matchup. Sam in stealth, crossing the map. I'd imagine Merkmine's going to follow up pretty quick. He's priming himself up with some feathers, going to sprint across the map in stealth with that Spectral Guys for a surprise attack on Splyce. Are they going to launch the offense on Absterge? Merkmine's right on top of him. We can see Walter just going to leap right on him, prevent him from landing any fears, and that sneaky attack is going to get shut down from Walter.
Yeah, this opener is not going as well for Splyce as I think they really wanted it to. They're making the best of it, though, so far, trying to just keep up as much pressure as they can. But yeah, they're really just not able to get much to actually happen off of that. Absterge now caught into this polymorph, allowing Please Sponsor Us to put a little bit of extra damage out. Now that fear coming out onto him as well. He's going to go ahead and sit through it. He does not want to use his trinket, obviously, but it does mean that his team is taking a little bit of damage, which he will have to catch them back up from. Actually dropped the Healing Tide totem there for just a second, just to make sure that his team was not in too much trouble and keeps from getting too far behind, which is important because now Walter Bear actually taking quite a bit of damage here. Caught in that Fist of Justice, he's going to go ahead and get dispelled out of that right away, and then jumping back over here just to try and keep up as much pressure as he can, actually going on to Rub Cubs for the time being. Meanwhile, Samayam out in the open there taking quite a bit of damage from Dota. Now Absterge in that deep freeze. Do they have the follow-up CC for him? No, they do not. Splyce actually finding their opportunity now just to be as aggressive as they really wanted to be in that opener, and trying their best to make something happen, and they've managed to pull out the trinkets from all three members of Please Sponsor Us.
I mean, the trinkets aren't really incredibly huge here. Dota's focusing a lot of spread pressure, so everyone's dotted. So any crowd control with fear that he tries to do is going to break instantly. Maybe Walter could snag a good-looking clone, but I would imagine Splyce are looking to play this game to Rub Cub. Rub Cub's surviving through the initial first minutes without using too much mana, tied with Absterge. Merkmine's moving in, coming in hot, looking for a fear on the Absterge. Walter shuts him down again with a bash, and it's going to slow down some pressure here. Samayan blinks in, goes for that Evanescence, connects the sheet, pressure onto Walter. Walter has Trinket, but Dota's doing a good job to shut down this pressure. Double Shadow Fury into the fear. Dota peeling very well here, but a triple fear out from Merkmines. Merkmines follows it up, still a lot of burst over onto Walter. Absterge gets silenced on his Trinket, and Walter is going to go down. Well played by Merkmines. Once again, just completely ahead of his opponents. He knows how they're going to play. He's just in the position to shut them down and instantly does it every time. He's really playing extremely well here today.
That was a crazy setup coming out from Merc Mines. Kudos to him. Let's take a quick look at that replay to see how that all went down. The small opportunity was there. I mean, they slowly got the walls out from Walter Bear, and they found the opportunity to land that kill. Deep freeze on Absturge into the full polymorph from Sam I Am's Evanescence. That Hodge on the Walter Bear into the Horrify setup from Please Sponsor Us, into the Triple Fear from Merc Mines, ready to get that silence up as Walter Bear gets lower and lower. The silence to follow up, and Walter Bear is going to go down. And Please Sponsor Us, they got to be feeling good about that game number 1 win against this Lock Shaman composition. They were saying in their interview they're really scared of Lock Shaman. Well, they're looking really, really good against one of the very best in the tournament.
Yeah, definitely. I was just watching the remainder of that replay. They had, like, Absturge had his trinket and everything available. There was just so much CC thrown at him that as soon as he trinketed, it was actually kind of too late. He just could not get over to Walter Bear in time to be able to get any sort of healing on him. So very well played from Please Sponsor Us and Merc Mines especially to be able to make that happen there and get themselves that win.
Yeah, I think they picked the right target. Walter had no more survival instincts after the initial attack. Survival instincts only last for like 4 or 5 seconds. It's a very small amount of time. So what Please Sponsor Us does is they bait him into using it, hold on to their damage, and then do it afterwards. And Abster just wasn't in position. That Triple Fear pushed him out of range, and then silencing him on the trinket of the polymorph just put the last nail in the coffin and finished Walter off. So I'd like to see Splyce play maybe a little bit better with positioning. I mean, obviously Absturge could have maybe coordinated better with Walter to be ready for that, but the Triple Fear is what ended up putting them out of position. So maybe just try and avoid stacking up when they see Merc Mines coming in, try and position themselves a little bit better for that. I mean, maybe they were just, it seemed like they were playing with overconfidence, as if they could just walk all over them, and Merc Mines didn't let that happen.
Not at all. And, going into game number 2 here, both of these teams have played so well earlier on today. So they're going to have to maybe adjust to one another. But, the FLS, as they go later into the game, they definitely do gain like kind of a momentum. But the set, like they've been dealing with the consistent pressure and the spread pressure of this Feral Lock. Please Sponsor Us has so well. They stayed consistently offensive because of it. But it's going to be a little bit more difficult on a smaller map like Dalaran Sewers to be able to deal with that consistent pressure of the Lock Feral Druid for Splyce. And that's probably why Splyce brought it here, like having this smaller map just kind of gives Dota free reign to just dot everybody up. It'd be interesting to see if they go for like maybe the triple dot, all 3 targets getting dotted up and consistent pressure like that. But we've seen time and time again Walter Bear and Dota doing a phenomenal job, specifically against Windwalker DK compositions, of just shutting down teams. At the same time, we've seen Please Sponsor Us doing a great job, cross CCing before their setups, preventing those peels. So it's gonna be a big matchup here on Dalaran Sewers. But here we go. The gates are about to open.
And Please Sponsor Us have the advantages of their comp that they don't need to always kill Walter. They can switch targets and try and catch Splyce off guard. So I'm wondering if they're going to change their strategy. If Walter knows he's going to be the target start to finish, he can play a lot more defensive, just always retreating when he knows that Deep Freeze is available. So let's see if Walter can play defensive here. Or he's going to give a classic Walter Bear wave to his victory, potentially. Absturge actually getting feared off initially here. Are they going to go on to Absturge is a question. Sam I Am moving in, looking to maybe... Yeah, it looks like they are going to go on to Absturge. Sam I Am drops the Frozen Orb. They're looking to build a lot of pressure with this. They go into the Deep Freeze now. Can they connect any more CC into the Silence? Absturge taking a lot of damage. It's too much to handle, and Absturge will fall. Please Sponsor Us going to be taking game number 2 very quickly.
Wow, that CC chain was crazy. I just feel like Absturge had to trinket, had to press some sort of button there in that scenario to just to deal with that setup. And I have to feel like, did he DC? Or
that's what I was starting to think too.
Oh,
I thought for sure he was going to trinket the Horrify, because the Horrify was the last thing that could have hit him. If he trinketed, there was nothing to follow it up, so he could have just trinketed it and got his link off. Right now with Shamans, like if they trinket, they can't instantly activate Link, but he had time. He had time in the Horrify to get it off, I think. So I was actually wondering if he DC'd too, or if he was tilting. And he was just like, I don't need to trinket this. If I have to trinket this, man. And then just decided to sit through it.
If I have to trinket this game is stupid. But I think you really did need to do that to trinket. But we're going to be figuring out what happened there, and get the map choices as well as the composition lock-ins from these teams going into game number 3. And all of a sudden, Splyce is just one loss away from being dropped down to that lower bracket here. And looking at the bracket, just so you guys are updated on where exactly we are, there are 2 separate groups here of 4 teams each. They work very similar to double elimination. Now, the 2 teams that do the best out of these groups will move on to be seeded in a single elimination bracket, a very small one, a complete of 3 series, the semifinals and the finals. So these teams are battling their way to see who's going to be the top 4, and currently we are in the winner round 1 of Group B between Please Sponsor Us and Splyce, and the winner of the series will move on to lock themselves into that single elim bracket. And Please Sponsor Us, they got to be feeling pretty good right now, only 1 win away from getting their spot in that single elim bracket.
Yeah, let's see if they can keep it up.
And right now, Cloud9 and Method, I kind of wonder. Like, they kind of are probably rooting for the opposite team because they haven't faced each other yet, but Cloud9 was knocked down by Please Sponsor Us, so they're probably rooting for Splyce at the moment. Right. And Method was knocked down by Splyce, so I actually see CDU on Twitter, like, worried about having to play Absturge again. I kind of feel like, from their perspective, it's got to be a tense match coming up here. Cloud9 going, okay, yeah, if we can get through Method, and Please Sponsor Us wins this, then we only have to worry about Splyce to go on through the tournament. And Method just be like, please do a 3-0 comeback. Yeah. Please just 3-0 them.
Please don't make me fight them again. Yeah, I mean, like, when you're going to like these small double elim brackets, you've seen time and time again that, like, if you fall to a team and you don't know how to adapt to that team, it's really difficult because you could totally get them again. We've seen it in the past, and it is here now. There's a little bit of insight on this. We are actually taking into consideration, making it almost a complete round robin, but we couldn't find the scenario where we would be making a team that definitely couldn't qualify any longer to continue to make them the play. So that was like the biggest reason why we had to stick with the double elim, was because in the scenario that a team lost 2 games and was asked to go and play again for like the decider match, it's kind of unfortunate. They're probably unmotivated. They're like, well, I'm already knocked out and now I have to play again. So that's kind of why we went with this format here, just to give you guys a little bit of insight on that. But, it definitely makes sense for a Method to be worried about facing Splyce again. I heard Smexon say that that's probably one of the hardest teams for them to face. So they're going to have to go up against Cloud9, which is actually one of the scariest teams in the whole bracket. But they got knocked down by Please Sponsor Us. So if they can get past Cloud9, they potentially might have to go up against, Please Sponsor Us or Splyce here.
I'm interested to see if Splyce are gonna change up strategy at all. I mean, I think Absturge did end up disconnecting in game number 2, which is unfortunate.
Yeah.
I mean, for his opponents to kind of know that right in the middle of their one shot is like, you can't really expect them to stop. Like, they're already at 22%. They're like all in the heat of the moment. Like, oh my god, he's not trinketing. It's like, it's not. You often see shamans die without trinketing, so. Like, they can't assume, I guess, that quickly that he would have been disconnected. So they ended up taking him out. So let's see if Please Sponsor Us can stay with this momentum that they've got. They need one more win to eliminate Splyce. And if they're able to take Splyce out, it could be a sign. They said that the Lock Shaman comps were like their counters, or they can take their number 1 counter out, and they're looking pretty good to maybe even win the entire thing.
Yeah, they're rising up, man. They're rising up and above the Lock Shaman that they're so afraid of. But Splyce, man, they have made crazy comebacks in the past. And so you can't count them out just yet here in game number 3 against Please Sponsor Us. They did bring it to Ruins of Lordaeron, a much smaller map, a much more in-your-face map. And we've seen Ruins of Lordaeron, kind of a double-edged blade there. It could definitely help your team out, but it also makes your team just as vulnerable as your opponents. But here we go. The gates are about to open between Splyce and Please Sponsor Us.
Yeah, and we'll have to see if Splyce can get the opener that they were looking for in the last match. We do have Walter Bear actually popping his dash, trying to get around over here. Looks like he might want to go in on Merkmines, but no, he got a little bit too close and got caught in that fear that's going to pull him out of stealth. Now Absturge caught in that Fist of Justice. This could mean a lot of early trouble once again. Now the Deep Freeze comes out, and the Silence. Is he going to trinket that? Yes, he does. Immediately trinket it. But, yeah.
What?
He misused his brakes. He misused his brakes there. I mean, Sam actually used Evanescence so he couldn't be counterspelled on his damage, and just casted Frostbolts that entire time in the stun lock. And he ended up using his break before the Horrify, and that's what happens with a Shaman. If you use your break before the last one, then you end up not being able to get the link off.
I'm taking a quick look at that replay to watch everything that went down. And let's take a quick look. The Hodge goes out onto Absturge into the Deep Freeze, and he finally gets out of that. He stone forms out of the Silence into the Horrify, and that's all she wrote. He got the Trinket off, but